Thank you, everyone. Good morning again. We are going to begin. The motion, the moot that will be debated reads, this House believes that a trade union representative should be present at hiring interviews. Proposing the moot is the team from Campion College, and opposing the moot is a team from the Cartridge College. All right, we're looking forward to an interesting debate. You should be familiar with the time frames for the speeches. First speakers speak for 8 minutes. Second speakers will speak for 7 minutes. Third speakers will speak for 5 minutes. And the reply speakers will speak for 3 minutes. We will take the opposition reply speaker before the proposition reply speaker. So the team that will start the debate will be the proposition team, and the team that will end the debate will also be the proposition team. Within the first minute of each speaker's speech, points of information are not allowed from the opposing team. At the end of that first minute, a signal will be indicated, which will signal to you that points of information can be asked of the speaker who is speaking. Similarly, the last minute of speaker's speech is regarded as protected time. So points of information, again, are not allowed. Do we have all the speakers here? Do we have the speakers from Campion College? Campion College? Let me just get in contact with all right, so do we have Campion College here with us now? Right. I think they might have fallen off because of internet connectivity. So Ronaldino, can you open your microphone
Yes.
so we know that you're here? Okay,
Yes,
and the opposing team, can you speak so we know that you're audible? The Cartridge College? Can you speak so that we know you're audible? Okay, all right. I'm going to ask one of my wing judges, Chantel or Trevon, to the feedback is delayed, but we are hearing you. All right. Is the connection clear for the other judges?
I wasn't hearing her so clearly.
Okay. All right. We'll see what becomes of the debate with respect to the internet connectivity. Chantel, well, Trevon will monitor the time for me. And at the end of the first minute, in speaker's speech, Trevon will put in the chat that 1 minute has passed, which will notify the opposing team that points of information can be asked. Similarly, when the last minute is about to begin, Trevon will also indicate that in the chat, signaling that no points of information can be asked. And when the speaker's time has come to an end, Trevon will indicate that again in the chat. at which point I will begin to ask for the speaker to pause. With that said, it's an interesting motion, and looking forward to the debate. Let's have a very good debate. Let's have an engaging debate. Let's have points of information being asked of the respective speakers. Let's have a debate that will be truly reflective of our intellectual capacity. With that said, I want to invite the first speaker from Campion College, the first proposition speaker proposing the moot. This House believes that a trade union representative should be present at hiring interviews. 8 minutes on the clock.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, you are audible. Just want to elevate your voice so that we can hear you a bit louder.
Okay. Adjudicators, fellow teammates, audience, and worthy opponents, a pleasant good morning to you all. Today, I stand before you in full adamant support of the motion. This House believes that a trade union representative should be present at hiring interviews. During this debate, our primary objective is to outline the indispensable role of the trade union representatives in upholding labor laws and safeguarding the fundamental rights of workers. By emphasizing their pivotal role as advocates for fair working conditions, we aim to provide a comprehensive perspective that underscores the significance of these representatives in shaping more than just a thriving workplace environment, but also the workers entering this environment. As the first speaker, my task today is to establish the foundation upon which our arguments will be built upon, define key terms, and to briefly delve into some key substantives. Firstly, a trade union representative is an employee of an organization or company who represents and defends the interests of their fellow employees as a trade union member. Trade unions, vital champions of labor laws and workers' rights. The presence of a representative is more than just a formality. They embody the human touch that nurtures a workplace where everyone's rights are respected and protected, fostering a truly compassionate and supportive work environment. But their role in hiring interviews, as we propose, would not be invasive. In fact, it would be very minimal. They would give inputs with respect to their areas of expertise. Given that this is not a policy motion, though, the onus is not on us to present a complete picture of what the hiring meeting looked like. The burden on either side is to show why the workplace and society generally would be better on either of the views. That is why we are completely prepared to defend the usefulness, the value, and the urgency of this change now. In a country infamous for its corruption, the necessity of the presence of a trade union representative is simply a no-brainer. Nepotism, cronyism, and just plain discrimination are just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the corruption practices that plague Jamaica today. Picture this: you walk into a job interview, fully qualified, prepared. The moment the interviewer notices the color of your skin, they turn you away without a second thought. But imagine if your crime was not being the wrong race, but not being buddies with the employer, and you're turned away for a similarly irrational reason. This is the disheartening reality faced by countless individuals, and that is the basis on which our proposition rests. This is something that cannot be ignored, and if not addressed, the workplace and in turn the society as a whole will be negatively affected. This leads me into my first substantive. In such a challenging environment where unethical practices often prevail, having a trade union representative becomes indispensable. They become a beacon of hope for workers. They work as guardians, ensuring that amidst this corruption and unfair practices, the rights of employees remain protected and respected. Where discrimination is no longer a lingering thought in the minds of potential employees when meeting their potential employer. The presence of a trade union representative is a way of ensuring fairness by providing equal representation for all employees, regardless of their background or position. These representatives negotiate employment terms collectively, ensuring transparent decisions about pay, working hours, and benefits, preventing arbitrary or discriminatory practices. They act as mediators, protecting employees against unfair treatment and providing legal assistance when necessary. guaranteeing that disciplinary actions are conducted fairly and in compliance with labor laws. In essence, in a country grappling with corruption such as Jamaica, the role of a trade union representative is not just significant, but it is absolutely essential. They become the pillars of integrity, upholding the values of fairness and justice, even in the face of adversity. Their presence is not just a necessity, it becomes a beacon of hope, illuminating the path towards a workplace where honesty, transparency, and dignity prevail despite the challenges posed by corruption. They play a crucial role in our fight against the discrimination previously alluded to by myself at the forefront of my speech. I must, however, reiterate that our stance does not advocate for the trade union representatives to replace the interviewers or infringe upon employer rights. Rather, their role is to offer limited supervision, ensuring a fair interviewing process. Building upon this foundation, my second substantive emphasizes that on top of the potential boost to fairness, their presence in job interviews significantly contributes to promoting good industrial relations. This participation carries a particular significance as it transcends mere legal requirements. The active involvement of trade union representatives in the hiring process exemplifies the organization's proactive commitment to fostering an environment characterized by fairness and transparency. By assuming the role of intermediaries, they not only ensure the interviewee's voice is heard, but also ensure that these voices are genuinely valid right from the forefront of their employment. This approach goes beyond routine procedures. It sets a positive tone for employer-employee relationships, nurturing trust, motivation, and a deep sense of belonging among the workers. Moreover, this practice serves as a potent message to both current and potential employees, affirming the organization's deep-seated values. It communicates that the organization is not only embracing change, but holds individual opinions in high regard, championing the principle of equal opportunities for all. This inclusive atmosphere does more than just boost morale. It actively encourages collaboration and fosters open communication channels. In doing so, it lays a foundation for a vibrant workplace culture, where creativity and innovation flourish, and where every member of the workplace feels valued and empowered to contribute their best. In addressing the potential skepticism from the opposition, it is crucial to recognize that our perspective is firmly rooted in the realities of the modern workplace. The positive impact of trade union representatives is not wishful thinking. It's a pragmatic approach to creating a workplace where every individual, regardless of their background, can flourish and contribute meaningfully. In conclusion, our support for the motion goes beyond the theory. It's a call for action. It's a call to action for workplaces to embrace fairness, openness, and efficiency. By incorporating trade union representatives into the hiring process, we pave the way for a future where every job interview is a beacon of hope, untainted by prejudice, and every individual an equal opportunity to thrive. The proposition momentarily rests.
Thank you, first proposition speaker, for your contribution to the debate. And we invite the first opposition speaker to make his or her contribution to the debate. First opposition speaker. All right, so 8 minutes on the clock. You can begin whenever you're ready.
Je said something first. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, you are audible. We're also seeing you.
Okay. Chairman, distinguished judges, esteemed coaches, My fellow teammates, opponents, good morning. I rise before you as the first opposition to vehemently oppose the idea that trade union representatives should have a place in the hiring interview. But before I begin my speech, I must question the clarity of the proposition's argument. I ask you, my opponents, which party within the interview is requesting that the representative be present? Is it the applicant, the company, or in fact the union itself? Who is this motion benefiting? To contextualize the House's substantive, if it is the applicant who's advocating for the presence of the union representative, could we not interpret it as them seeking to undermine the competence of the employer or interviewer, perhaps even to conceal their own shortcomings? If it is the employer, we argue that the representative could hamper the ability of employers to assess candidates objectively, evaluate their alignment with company policies, and gauge their suitability for the position, which after all is the purpose of the hiring interview. If it is the trade union itself, could we not argue that this might be used as a power play to expand their reach, increase their influence, and assert control over the workforce? Such a scenario, however, contradicts the very purpose of the union, which should be about worker empowerment instead of government interference. As the opposition, we contend that while trade unions are indispensable in safeguarding workers' rights, their involvement in the hiring interview is neither practical nor necessary. The very premise of their presence in this context must be questioned. As the first opposition speaker, my task is to illuminate the impracticality of having a trade union representative during the hiring process. Our stance is firmly rooted in the belief that despite well-intentioned motives, this practice poses a myriad of challenges and concerns that ultimately sabotage the integrity of the hiring procedure. My esteemed colleague or second speaker will delve even deeper into the concerns of confidentiality, drawing attention to the profound implications of trade union representatives being privy to information. These concerns encompass data protection, the reliability of such individuals, and the broader implications for the workforce. Subsequently, our third speaker will systematically dismantle any counter-arguments presented by the proposition while reinforcing our fundamental points. The parliamentary of the United Kingdom states, the representative primarily serves as an advocate and advisor to the colleagues who are already members of the union. They advocate for interests and rights of union members. I emphasize the word members. It is essential to note that to be endorsed by a trade union, the applicant must have already been accepted by the company or already previously an existing member of the union. Therefore, the very notion of a trade union representative defending non-union members is at its core inconsistent with trade unions' purpose. I anticipate that the proposition will attempt to defend their reckless stance that union representative can represent those outside their ranks. To our opponents, I urge you to disregard this notion. According to the Trade Union Act of Jamaica, to fully benefit from the trade union, one must already be an existing employee of a company. While there may be isolated cases where unions publicly fund union members, the extent of such support varies based on union policies, legal frameworks, and the nature of the issue in question. Let us not veer off course, but instead focus on the primary purpose of the hiring interview, which is to assess the qualifications and suitability of a candidate for the specific role in the organization. Accepted?
If it's to assess qualifications, how do you respond to our claim that this would benefit that process of identifying qualified workers, because the trade union rep could be a watchdog for things like nepotism and corruption, which would influence discrimination in the process?
We as the opposition disregard that very notion that you're presenting. Because we see that during this process, the employer, this is streamline their business and inherently propose meritocracy in their business. I continue. Or instead, which is assess the qualifications and suitability of a candidate for a specific role within the organization. This process identifies the most qualified individuals who can contribute to a company's growth and success. We as opposition firmly stand against introducing union representatives into this crucial process. Their presence introduces bias and disrupt the fairness of selection. It creates an environment where personal agendas and biases may come into play, jeopardizing the principle of meritocracy that is essential for a competitive and efficient workforce. Trade union representatives in hiring interviews may potentially intimidate both employers and job seekers, leading to added pressure and scrutiny. This added tension hinders open communication, obstructing the ability for the employer to evaluate the candidate's qualifications, skills, and fit within the organization. Such interference can lead to suboptimal hiring decisions, which is detrimental to a company's productivity and success. That is the answer to your POI. While we respect the pivotal role that the trade union plays in upholding workers' rights, we strongly believe that involvement in the hiring process is not the solution. Let us not forget that employers have a responsibility to protect their business interests and make decisions that ensure the company's sustainability and growth. By allowing trade union representatives to participate in the hiring interview, employers will be forced to compromise their autonomy and decision-making authority. This intrusion could impede the ability to make swift and efficient hiring decisions, potentially harming the company's competitiveness and in the job market. We restate while the unions rejected. While the unions have an essential role in safeguarding workers' rights, including their representatives in the hiring interview, it is not the solution. As opposition, we believe that more efficient and financially sound approach will involve positioning the union's representative not as the outset of the hiring process, but rather during the orientation or training phase. This adjustment would not only enable the union representative to collaborate with the business in enlightening candidates about their entitlements, but thereby streamlining the process and fostering a prosperous work environment. My opponents, let us preserve the integrity of the hiring process and maintain a progressive job market by rejecting the notion of trading representatives being present in the hiring interview. I have full confidence that my teammates will carry on my articulate and persuasive presentation of the moves, enabling the judges to understand the foundation of our arguments and the validity of our points. Thank you.
Thank you, first opposition speaker. We now return to the proposition team to hear the contribution of the second speaker.
Okay.
7 minutes on the clock. We'll begin when you're ready.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to continue the proposition's case, in support of the motion. In my speech, I will clarify some framing issues in this debate, restore and extend my first speaker's arguments, respond to those brought by the opposition so far, and build on our case with just one new substantive point. First, on framing. We've told you a couple of things. First of all, we set this debate in the context of the Jamaica that is riddled with corruption in all spheres of corporate life, from public bodies to private boards. And we use that as the basis for our assertion that we have this problem of unfairness and injustice in the hiring process that has not so far been disputed by opposition. In the lack of any refutation on that framing, I want to just build on that by giving you an example of JUTC, a public corporation who for many years was hiring dozens of senior managers who were wholly unqualified for the job. We can only imagine what exists in private settings where companies are just not subject to the same level of scrutiny and where unions and union workers are much more stifled. But then we also told you that there's this gross antagonism that exists between trade unions and business operators in Jamaica, and that is suffocating good industrial relations and unity between employers and employees in the workplace. And we use that piece of framing to set up our argument that what we would achieve, on our view, is an improvement in the harmony between these groups just by having them at the table together. The opposition poorly mischaracterizes the debate. In fact, they don't give any serious context behind the motion in the context of Jamaica. And instead, they present arguments that really respond to claims that we haven't made and ideas that we're not defending in this debate. So what arguments have you heard so far? Us first. First, we told you that having a union rep at hiring interviews ensures fairness and justice in those interviews because they can look out for instances of unfairness towards the potential employee and ensure that consistent protocols are followed, which maintain the integrity of the process. But to further extend this, I will add that having the union rep present ensures that employers don't maintain unfair leverage over potential employees. We know that job interviews are kind of negotiations, and in most job interview contexts, the employee is more likely to be unaware of such things as the rights he has, the applicable labor laws to business in Jamaica, while the employer, who would have more of that knowledge, also has the latitude to ask whatever questions he likes, conduct the interview however he wants, and is essentially holding a job over the interviewee's head. The employer here has all the leverage. The employee is looking to get a job and has much less leverage. But with a trade union representative present, however, a potential employee will be much more comfortable in the interview, much more confident, willing to engage in negotiation and defend himself, and would also rely on the union rep to defend him when he's being unfairly taken advantage of. This is better for business. This is better for the process, that there is this balance of power between employer and potential employee. But we also talked about the harmonious relationship that this would create, and this is especially important in the context of Jamaica, where we see all the time this breakdown of relationship between trade union and company. And we think that this would benefit that relationship because both parties would have a seat at the table together in this initial process. So this is not trade union coming in and taking over and influencing their business in the process. This is them getting a seat at the table and serving an informative purpose rather than the purpose of enlisting people to their trade union. So what has the opposition give you? Well, they really assert without warrant that this benefits only trade unions, which is just simply not true. In fact, I would argue that trade unions are probably the party that benefits the least from what we're seeking here, because the worker can only join, like we agreed, the worker can only join the trade union at the point when he's employed and not before. On the contrary, we think that this decision best meets the needs of all the key stakeholders in this debate. So this move would be best for the company because of the improved integration with the trade union that's achieved and the enhanced efficiency of the interview process that I will go on to talk about. But it's also better for the employer because they get skills, information that the union rep can provide. And it's better for the potential worker who can be informed of their rights before those rights are violated on the job. I'll take it.
You are saying basically that you are going to be educated in the interview process while the trade union rep is there.
I'm so sorry, I really did not hear that. But I have to move on. We also heard that this challenges the competence of the employer and that the trade union should not be introducing its job to people who aren't in the union, which we agreed to by the way. But the culture was clearly not listening when we described the minimal role that the union rep would play. So the role of the rep would be exclusively to provide information to the employer and to the employee, and to by their presence ensure such things as interview and the appearance of a harmonious relationship between the two parties. So this world that the opposition is painting, where the employer loses all their autonomy because the trade union rep is all over the interview, is just not what we want. It's a complete straw man. On the point of confidentiality and privacy, we respond in two ways. First, we tackle the claim that there is some problem of confidentiality here because we could enforce mechanisms like non-disclosure agreements where the trade union rep, who by the way is a person internal to the company and not somebody from outside company, I work at a company, would not be able to disclose this information outside. The purpose of them